Company plans to dump 1 million gallons of radioactive water into the Hudson River. This is alarming. Things like uranium could be right into the water, as this is a nuclear power plant. So what's going on here? On February 2nd, Holtec International, the company charged with decommissioning the Indian Point nuclear facility, reported it plans to discharge approximately 1 million gallons of radioactive wastewater into the Hudson River as soon as August. The Indian Point electricity generation station is located in Buchanan, New York, on the eastern shore of the river, roughly 25 miles or 40 kilometers upstream from New York City. It was first brought online in 1962 and finally shuttered in 2021. The announcement was made at a meeting of the Indian Point Decommissioning Oversight Board and has raised strong objections from the environmental advocacy groups and residents. The Hudson River is already a federally designated Superfund cleanup site due to the dumping of carcinogens, PCBs, polychlorinated bipennyls by the General Electric decades. So they've done stuff like this before. We go from facilities at Hudson Falls, Fort Edward, New York, upriver from Buchanan, and dealing with radioactive water, a product of the process, as this is a nuclear power plant, to keep the nuclear reactor from overheating is just one aspect of overall decommissioning procedure. Spent fuel rods, which contain plutonium and uranium from other components, will remain dangerously radioactive for hundreds of millennia. So this isn't something that can just be easily fixed. And as we know, if there's uranium in water, it can cause kidney damage, it can cause other problems, and it can ultimately cause cancer and death. These must be stored on site in effective perpetuity unless alternative long-term storage facility is created to which they could be transported, merely kicking the can down the road. No such permanent storage location has yet created, despite 45 years of political finger-pointing, which hasn't seemed to do much. The transportation itself would present dangers as illustrated by the recent derailment and resulting spill of toxic chemicals in East Palestine, Ohio. The wastewater is contaminated with tritium, a radioactive isotope of hydrogen which emits beta radiation electrons as it decays. While not as dangerous as the fuel rods in large quantities, it can cause cancer when inhaled or ingested. And tritium has a generally short half-life of 12.33 years. Half-life is the length of time over which half of a given quantity of radioactive material will decompose into harmless helium. An effective decontamination strategy would simply keep the wastewater contained on the site to allow the natural decay process to proceed, and retention for approximately 25 years would reduce the quantity of tritium, uranium, plutonium, all of these. After 60 years, 96.4% of the stored tritium would be decayed. The NRC allows 60 years of decommissioning, and spent fuel rods can remain on site for longer. However, that would require ensuring contamination was maintained throughout that period to prevent leakage into the surrounding groundwater. So, also an environmental advocacy group, Riverkeep, issued a statement on February urging it's time to draw the line against using Hudson as a dumping ground for tritium, uranium, a reactive isotope found in the wastewater. So as we can see, this is very concerning. Things like plutonium, tritium, uranium are getting into the water because of negligence. And this is going to affect people in the region, but you don't know what other power plants it brings to question are doing this. So it's always a good idea to periodically test your water for chemicals like these.